In today's video, we're discussing the difference between a 403b and a 403b7. In other words, what's the difference between a TSA or annuity-based 403b and a 403b that's custodial or mutual fund based. So in this video, we're going to break down differences between the two. We're going to go over fees, investment performance, surrender charges, what companies to look for. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison of the commonalities between them all, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on which one you should be thinking about using. If you find yourself wound up in an annuity that you no longer want, well, I'll give you guys some options or ideas on how to get out of that contract. And if you're looking to get into 403b, you're trying to avoid high fees, you don't want to pay an advisor a percentage to manage the money, you just want a flat fee contract to get the advice so you can place the investments yourself, we have that option available through a service that we created. It's a flat fee investing program for 403b contracts. It's the only one of the kind that I know of. The link to learn more about or sign up is going to be in the description below. Now, with that out of the way, let's get going. So the main thing you're looking at here, and the confusing part, is they're both called 403bs. Now, what makes this even worse is that a lot of school district payroll departments don't really differ themselves. They have it coded one way in their system. So when they go to report your 403bs on your pay stub, you may see it say 403b, you may see TSA or tax shelter annuity. Some may even spell it out, tax shelter annuity. And the truth is, you might even have a tax shelter annuity. You could have one of those 403b7s, through Aspire or Vanguard, something with nothing to do with annuity at all, but that's just the way that the district labels them. So we're gonna go through the differences so you can know what you're looking at. And you can't just trust what you see on your pay stub, unfortunately. So 403b traditional accounts, these are ones that don't have a 7 at the end. Like I said, most of them are going to have the 7 at the anyways. For the most part, the easiest way to identify them is if they're issued through a life insurance company. So if the company you have it through ends or has in their title a life insurance anywhere in there, there's a 9 out of 10 chance that's an annuity product. Some common examples, you have VALIC, which is the variable annuity life insurance company, who is now, I believe, Forbridge. They used to be GFI, they keep changing their name. They're an annuity provider, and they use annuities primarily in their 403b contracts. Then you have Equitable, used to be known as AXA Advisors, my former employer. I can tell you without a doubt, 100% if you're getting something from AXA, it's going to be an annuity contract. Now I have more here. So there's actually ones like Horace Mann, Mass Mutual, National Life Group, New York Life, Protective Life, Real Star, Security Benefit has one, Thrivent. So those are just a few of the big ones out there to keep an eye for. Those ones will have a 403b product. Some exclusively will only do 403b contracts. Some will have an option for a custodial agreement. So if you're working with those companies, that's something to watch for. Why would you use one of these annuity-based 403b programs? For the most part, it's just that they've been out the longest. They actually have the biggest sales force, and they push those people into the schools to sell their policies and things like that. So they have a big sales force to push their own products. So they usually have a bigger market share. They also buy up sponsorships. So for example, the WA sponsors VALIC or vice versa. VALIC pays millions of dollars, whatever it is, to have that WA logo stamped on their paperwork. They even have a WA annuity. But when you really break it down, what is it? It's VALIC. You're getting into an annuity contract. They may change it up, have different bells and whistles on it. At the end of the day, it's still one of those. Security Benefit does the same thing through the NEA. So they have an NEA value builder 403 program. For the most part, it's going to be an annuity contract. They might have a version now that's not annuity based, but same thing. They're paying money to be sponsored to have the NEA logo on their paperwork. So don't be fooled by sponsorships. They're getting that money from somewhere. Oftentimes the fees generated from 403 programs. So you want to look past those fancy sponsorships. You never want to sign up for 403 on the go. If someone comes to your door, you find a benefit fair, chances are, if they're bringing out applications asking you to sign up right now, it may not be in your best interest, especially if they're going to push you that far, mainly because these annuity programs are paying commissions to their advisors. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some really great people out there that work for them, but when you dive past the person and go at the actual product, and you look at, is this the best for me? In my experience, oftentimes it's not, when you could be doing the 403b7s or mutual fund based programs. So what's the difference between them? The main difference here is one's annuity based, one's not. Annuity ones have lockup periods. So when the money goes in, the money has to stay there for a minimum amount of time. It could be 5 years, could be 10 years, depends on what company you're going with, what product you've signed up for. So what that means is if you want to take your money out before then, you're paying a surrender fee. And the surrender fees can range from 5% a year, 8% a year. I've seen them go even 10% a year in some cases. So what you hate to do is put money into it for years, have 30 grand in it, want to move it into like a Vanguard account, but you get slapped with a 5% penalty. No one wants to pay $1,500 just to get out of a contract. And so it's important that you understand all the ins and outs before jumping into one of those annuity products. When we look over to the mutual fund based programs, because they're not annuities, there is no surrender fees. If you wanted to move money out of Vanguard and go to Fidelity, go to Aspire, something like that, you can do that. There's no penalties. So that's one reason why I'm a big fan of using those type of 403Bs over the other ones. Second, let's look at the investment lineup. The investment lineup inside of annuity funds are typically limited. In some cases, they're limited to their own mutual funds. So you might be with XYZ insurance company, and inside the investment options are the XYZ growth fund, the XYZ bond fund. So they charge you money by a contract fee basically to get in initially, and then every investment inside of there is another fee on top of that. So they got a fee for the contract and a fee for the investment side of things. If you go with the mutual fund company, they'll have fees for account fees as well, but they're usually a fraction of the cost, like 0.1, 0.15, I think it's what Expire charges, something like that. So it's a fraction of the cost. When you look at the annuity sides, when I was at Equitable, I believe it was 1.35 just to get in the contract. And there's many of them out there that are very similar. When you look at the actual investment side of things, the ones inside of the annuity products are usually going to be higher fee. Even if they have Vanguard options, they might up to charge them. So it might say Vanguard fund, but they might tack on an extra fee. So even though Vanguard only charges 0.05 for that fund, the insurance company might tack on extra 0.2% to it. So you may be paying more for that particular investment through the annuity or insurance company. If you were to go direct through one of those mutual fund-based 403 programs, you can pick up those same mutual funds for a fraction of the cost. They don't upsell them. So all things being equal, if performance is exactly the same across the board, which they might be similar, and the only thing really changing it is fees. If fees are typically going to be higher on the annuity side, fees lower on the mutual fund side, you're probably going to have better performance on the mutual fund side. So if we have a wider selection of investments, we pay lower fees, and there's no surrender to get out of them, those are really three big reasons why a 403(b)(7) might be better than one of those traditional 403(b) programs. Now, if you find yourself in one of those 403(b) annuities and you're like, hey, I really want to get out of it, how do I do that? I have a whole video detailing the process from end to end on how to get out. But for the most part, what you need to know is that getting out of it is going to be easy. If you're subject to surrender charges, your options are either to bite the bullet on the surrender charges or to stop putting money into that program, open up your mutual fund-based 403 plan and start funding that one, and kind of just wait out until the surrender charges are gone on it. There is a way for most contracts to transfer 10% of the value surrender free to it. So if you had $30,000 in some type of annuity-based 403 program, you can move 10% per year, $3,000 could be moved into the other one, and you could redo that each and every year. But because it's 10% of the current value, your first year might be $3,000, but let's say it goes down to $27,000, doesn't do much, market goes down. Next year, you'll get 10% of that value. So now you transfer $2,700. So it's going to take more than 10 years to get the money out if that's the route you're thinking of going. So usually, if you want to go through the hassle of transferring 10%, that option is there. If not, most people I work with will just shut it off, we'll wait them out, and we'll move the money when it's free and clear surrender charges at that time. Now, while 403(b)(7)s or the mutual fund ones I've been hyping up this whole time sounds great, it's important to know that they're not all the same. There's still differences between them. The main difference you're going to find is the type of platform that they're on. They may have different program fees. That's the fee to get into them. They're going to have different investment options. They're going to have different fees in their investment options. And if you have an advisor, they're also going to dictate a fee on it. So just because you're in a 437 doesn't mean you're in the clear. There's still more things to look for. So as far as program fees, you want to see what does it cost annually for that fund or that custodian to run things. Now, custodians keep track of your contributions, how much earnings you have, things like that. And they really play an important job, and they're going to charge some type of administrative fee for that. Most times they're not a lot, like I said, 0.1, 0.05, something like that. Pretty small, but they're still going to have a fee for their services. As far as investments goes, there are some companies that only offer 10, 20 funds, and guess what? It's their own funds. And there's others like Aspire that has 10,000 funds. They don't have their own funds. You can use anything in Vanguard, anything in Fidelity. Oftentimes they actually have more investment options than Fidelity or Vanguard, even offering their own programs. So the custodian you choose to go with can dictate the investment lineup. As far as the fees go, this is another sticky point. Just like how I mentioned that the annuity companies will sometimes upcharge on certain fees, I've seen this happen as well. Inside of Security Benefit, if you wanted to go into the mutual fund program and you wanted a Vanguard option, they actually do charge an extra fee on top of their Vanguard fees. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I do know that it in fact is there. So don't quote me on this, but let's say it was 0.25%. If Vanguard's charging 0.05, security benefits going to slap on 0.25, you paying 0.3 for that fund. So again, I don't know if it's 0.25 or not. It's been a while since I've even used one of those accounts, but I do know that they do charge for that. Now, that's just one example. I'm sure there's more out there that will do something similar to that. So you want to look past that and see, is there any upcharges on the internal expense ratios of those funds? To boil that all down, I've made a list in the past of the top ones to go through. If you're looking for the top 3, like which ones should I even think about researching? The top 3 really remain constant all the time, and that's going to be Vanguard, Fidelity, Aspire. Those are going to be your top 3 options. Personally, I usually recommend going with Aspire just because they have more variety. You can have both Vanguard and Fidelity funds inside the account. So if Vanguard was outperforming Fidelity, you can have those funds. And if, let's say, it flipped and Fidelity was outperforming or they cut their rates, you could drop all the Vanguard funds and go with all the Fidelity inside the Aspire platform. If you go just with Fidelity or just with Vanguard, you're limited to their investments only, so it's usually not a big deal, but it's just nice to have options. That's what I really like about the Aspire platform. The other thing I really like with those 3 providers is, for the most part, there's no advisor fee unless you opt for one. So there's no advisors at Vanguard or Fidelity or even Aspire that work for those companies that do 403Bs on a routine basis. So Vanguard and Fidelity do have advisors, but usually they're working with bigger clients. They aren't really focused on the 403B niche at all. Aspire doesn't have any advisors. However, you can opt to have an advisor added on to an Aspire account. So if you wanted to hire someone to manage the funds for you, you certainly can do that. So that's where I see a lot of other advisors go, especially ones that work for insurance companies that are tired of selling their own company's crummy annuity product. They will go through Aspire and they'll just charge a percentage of assets to manage that funds. Now, the percentage they charge, some of them will have the freedom to dictate what they want to charge. Some, the company mandates it. So for example, I've seen certain companies where they will run Aspire products, but because that company says they have to charge 1.3% of assets, that's what they have to charge, even if it is on Aspire account, because they need to make their money. If they say, hey, you have to use XYZ mutual funds only, that's what they're going to use. Some of these companies get kickbacks from certain products or mutual funds that they use. They may only use American funds or BlackRock funds or something like that. So it's something to keep an eye for. If you're talking to an advisor picking out mutual funds, ask them why the lineup is the same, why you're in the same mutual fund across the board. Because it's a retirement account, you usually don't get any kind of price deductions. So if they say we're all inside of one certain mutual fund company because we get a better rate, that doesn't work in the retirement account world. That's individual accounts. When you're buying individual mutual funds, that's for another day. So case in point, if you're going to the 437 mutual fund because you like the flexibility it offers, the fees are lower, and you want more selection for investments, if you want to work with an advisor, if you're okay with the rate is, and figure out kind of what their philosophy of it all is. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, for the most part, you're either doing your thing on your own or you're hiring someone and they're managing the account for you. And it's costing you more and more each year, especially your account grows. I actually have the Scenic Plan Confidence system, the same system I use to deliver ongoing advice for Plan 3 account members and Deferred Comp members. We do have the 403B lineup available. So for a flat fee, we can give you advice as far as what to invest on all of those different 403 account platforms. So you still maintain control of your account. You're going to do the account opening, you process the trades. What we're going to do is tell you what to choose and when to do it. So we take all the stress and research out of your work. So all you have to do is look at the email, log into your account, place the trades, and then you're done. We save you a lot of time and effort. And like I said, it's a flat fee, so it's not going to go up as your account goes up. We don't even ask for your account balance because it doesn't matter. So if that's something you're interested, the link to sign up for that service is in the description below. All right, that's it for this video. Make sure you head over to WashingtonTurspers.com. That's WATRSPERS. That's our new blog website where I store all of my videos, free guides, and downloads for you guys. Head over there to check out what we have coming out, get your free resources. Until next time, remember that your future depends on what you do today.